Okay, parents, what if the government offered an investment plan that actually has some tax advantages and also has possibly some starting contributions as well?
And before you roll your eyes and think it's political, it's not. Today, we're going to be breaking down what the proposed Trump accounts really are for and how they compare to the 529s and the Roth IRAs.
Yeah, and whether this is actually something that's beneficial to your kids, something that could really help in building wealth early, and also seeing if it's just maybe just a headline. We're going to get into it. No politics, no strategy. Let's go ahead and dive on in.
All right, welcome back to the Buy Your Kids a House podcast. Again, I'm Andrew and this is Matt, and today we're doing a chapter deep dive. If you like the content that we've been putting out, please comment, like, and subscribe, and it helps us out a lot, and we want to hear from you as well. But in our today's episode, we're going to be deep diving in something that could be a huge game changer for your children moving forward, and hitting that retirement age could be a huge benefit, and it's a little controversial because it is the Trump accounts.
Yeah, and like again, trying to keep this as analytical and focused as possible and everything, and just discussing how much this could impact for parents, especially setting up things for your kids for the future. Because up until now, it's been a little bit limited on what you as a parent could do to set up investments for your kids. Usually you had to go traditional like the 529 route for your kids' college savings. There's UTMAs and UGMAs, which are gift taxes and things they can set aside for your kids. But most of those are aiming for either college, not so much for the long term of just life starting or even possibly for retirement. Yes, you can set up a Roth IRA for your kids, but they do have to have earned income. There's a whole bunch more hoops to jump through. We're going to go in a future video. We're talking about ways of how to set that up because I do think it's something smart to do, but this helps eliminate a lot of that. And now this is still very fluid. Again, this is something that was just announced recently. It hasn't even officially launched yet. It comes out July 5th. But for those of you that are doing your taxes right now, mom and dad at home and everything, you'll see a lot of times on there it'll say, hey, do you want to set this account up and everything? So you're going through the process of already creating the account. Now, again, anyone under the age of 18, you can set it up for. However, what it benefits and the contributions and everything are a little bit different based on what year they were born in. And again, this is something that is changing almost on a daily basis. And until it officially launches in July, a lot could change because at the time of filming this, we're still in February. So again, a lot can change between now and then. So we'll see what actually the final product of this is. But it appears to be that they're trying to kind of mirror mimic the aspects of a Roth IRA for kids with a $5,000 limit contribution each year. Now, if your child was born 2025 or beyond, the government's supposedly going to give $1,000 as a seeding effort into it automatically, which is free money. I mean, tough to say no to free money.
Hey,
So setting that up for them would be a great starting area there. But if you can contribute that $5,000 a year, it can really make a big impact for your kids over the term of their lifetime, especially after if they can keep it until retirement, everything from that point.
yeah, no, absolutely. In theory, like you said, it hasn't rolled out yet, so we don't fully know, and it's changing constantly. But it sounds like something that could be a huge tool to be able to use if you set it up right for your kids to be able to have a huge amount by the time they retire. And by the time they even hit 18, you could have like a good amount banked for them as well. So if they're able to do this and comparing it to all of the different options, it might be something that is useful for sure. And again, I mean, you know a lot more about this because you have the kids.
Yeah.
I haven't really heard about this until recently, but it sounds like it might be something worth looking into for sure.
Yeah, and again, you don't have to hit the full 5,000 each year. Again, any little bit can help towards this. If you definitely have a kid, that's born 2025 or later, definitely want to get that free $1,000 from that. There's also some other states and benefits that are talking about. Certain states will contribute as well, even for kids that are younger from the birth age of 2025. Again, that could be changing a little bit on a state by state basis. We'll see, who actually does actually pitch in and everything when the time comes. But even if you can put in just a couple $100 every year, I mean, that could be a really, really big start because
Yeah.
we've said time and time again, it's less important on what you're investing in as it is how long you're investing in. And who has a lot longer to invest in is kids, hopefully, than mom and dad. Even again,
Yeah.
mom and dad's already in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. Again, that's going to be they have that many more years ahead of you. So again, that time frame of the growth and everything is definitely on their side. And so every little bit you can help get in there. and then that growth will hopefully be, according to the website and everything now, tax free. So even when they go to withdraw it, they won't have to pay taxes on what the growth is. Now, usually right now you have your capital gains tax and everything. It's usually 15% roughly and everything, depending on where you're at in that. But with having free tax money benefit on everything, that's going to be huge, because that could be easily retirement money, or at the very least a very good life starting fund. Regardless if your kids go to college or not and everything, that'd be a great way to maybe help with a down payment on the house, which again, buy your kids a house.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the whole point of this.
Yep.
Element, or even if they're trying to go to like a trade school, or even just need an investment to start their own business, or just help supplement their simple rent and life and everything get going. Like there's so many benefits potentially with this if it's done right. And then we're going to kind of go into a little bit now of how to look at it, what it'll be invested in, and also the potential long-term impact from this, because we've talked about before, and we'll go into it, of where their financial goals are for retirement, and this alone could potentially be a good chunk of what they need. So we'll go and dive into that some a little bit.
All right.
So now we're going to kind of go into a little bit what you as a parent maybe should, where it could be beneficial from, and also the potential impact it could have on your kids. Now, again, as we mentioned, you can do up to a $5,000 a year contribution. Now, we're not saying you have to max that out, but I would try to aim, if you possibly could, to try to get as close to that max on there, because again, if you can go on the own website about the information for this, they give an illustration showing of how much you contribute and the potential can grow to if they save it till retirement. And then if you're hitting that $5,000 a year over the course of those 18 years, that's roughly $90,000 you contributed, which is a lot of money. I'm not trying to knock $90,000 to me. That could make a big impact. But from that point on, just letting it grow till you hit retirement could grow to around roughly $13 million. So again, taking that $90,000 and turning that into $13 million, massive impact on your kid's life just from that alone. And we've talked about it before, trying to hit that number you want for your retirement. Now, whatever your personal retirement number is, we generally say you want double that for your kids because of inflation and the extra years they have to get there.
Which we also talk about in a previous episode, so feel free to scroll back.
Yeah, if you haven't seen that, please go back, watch that. We cover these things. You're going to learn these little tidbits along the way. We're trying to bring it back up because it's pertinent here.
Yeah.
But for instance, my retirement number personally is $5 million. That's what I'm looking at. If I want to hit $5 million, then I'll be ready to comfortably retire, which in that term means I want $10 million for my kids. Well, last time I checked, 13 million is more than 10 million. So
right.
So right there, they already have enough to retire on. Now, am I telling them to stop investing or planning? No. But if they already have that from age of 0 to 18, and then they're at 18 they already have that account set aside.
Yeah.
Now I tell them to start doing their own Roth IRA, contributing, maxing that out each year. Again, a relatively small, because 7,000 currently is the limit. In a couple of years, every couple of years it goes up a little bit, but let's just call it 7,000 now for a nice even round number. They're able to set that money aside. That 13 million could easily turn into 20, 25 million, by the time they hit it all said and done. And they've well succeeded past whatever potential financial hurdles that they might have.
Yeah.
But again, that's if they're planning for retirement. It appears to be one of the benefits for this is they can take it out earlier if they need to, which, Roth IRAs, you can take out what you contribute, but you can't take out what it gains until you hit retirement. So this appears to have a slight different caveat. So again, this also could be a great rainy day fund aspect.
Yeah, so there's so many different benefits to it as well. Like you adding in all of those different possibilities of how you can use it, and the flexibility of being able to use it in the different ways is completely different than, well, not completely different, but different enough than the different other ones. I'm stumbling over my words now. But
words are hard.
Yeah, words are hard today. But looking at it from a parent point of view, seeing your kids be able to hit more than what you're trying to set them up before this anyway is gotta feel nice if it pans out well, because like you said, it could easily grow way higher. But comes with all of that comes a lot of different pros and cons as well. Yeah. And I think we have a few in mind that we think is going to be good and bad with it as well. But one of the good things is it's starting to teach your kids investments and putting in the money and letting it sit for retirement right away.
Yeah, and again, if you're stacking this as a potential add-on to their retirement, rainy day fund, a life starting fund, all in that aspect, and on top of that, stacking their Roth IRA, If you can start them before the age of 18 with the Roth IRA, fantastic. But
Yeah.
again, you'd have to have earned income. So again, there's that caveat there. But once they hit 18, they can get going from that with their earned income. If you can stack a 529 plan, you're allowed to roll over $35,000 at the age of 18 from a 529 plan into the Roth IRA if they don't need it for college. Again, another potential stack to help out with their Roth IRA going forward. These are things that could make massive, massive differences into there. But there does appear to be some a little bit of con area of what we're looking at. One of the main ones, first off, is obviously we don't know. First off, it hasn't started, so we don't
Right.
know really what's going to happen with it officially launching and what that's going to look like. On the website, it does say it's going to invest in American-only companies. What that actually means right now, we don't really know because it doesn't list on there what companies we're investing in. Now, traditionally we do things like the S&P 500 or other index funds. We also covered the new Robinhood RVI, which again, you want to watch that one. It shows, but again, when you have that, you get a prospectus and you can see the companies that it's investing in. And from that, you want the diversification. Now, there are plenty of American-made companies that are fantastic and everything, but will they have the same track record as something like the S&P 500? We don't know yet.
Mm-hmm.
I have to see first, what the list of companies are, and not having that control of what you can invest in is a hindrance of there and everything, because even if you have like your 401k at work, you can at least have some control over it. You can look to see what funds you want to contribute to. Now, even they're a little limited, which is also why we generally only do what we can for company matches and everything there. But this appears to be even a little more limited. It looks like it's either yes or no, like either you're investing or not. And again, I'd like to see first off, what are these American companies that we're investing in, and the potential ramifications of that. You also brought up a very good aspect of the potential of what happens when the next next president and everything takes over.
Yeah, right. So if all of this starts, his presidency is coming to an end in the next few years or a couple of years now. And what happens with the next guy, goes, nope, we don't want that anymore. Let's get rid of it completely. That would be a huge downfall, especially if this does pan out to be as good as what they're claiming it's going to be. But at the same time, hopefully that doesn't happen, and maybe they just rebrand it. Because if they just rebranded it, then that would be okay with the same structure and the same policies within it.
Yeah.
Just, you don't have to call it the same thing anymore. And that would be awesome. But that is also a concern with this. If you're going into it, there's always that chance that it might just get abolished.
Yeah, and again, we're trying to keep this as non-political as possible, but there is obviously the battle between the two main parties and everything with it, and if and when the other party and everything takes office and that aspect, there is a potential of kickback and backlash from that, and a lot of times they do undo things that the previous administrations and everything did, and we don't know will they go in and undo this like other presidents have done with other previous administrations' policies. Now, again, as you said, regardless of what they're calling it, the name of it and everything, I do think that this has potential of actually having a great benefit for kids. And I hope that whoever is in political office will realize that there is a very good potential benefit in this, and will at least keep the core crux of it and everything moving forward and everything. Because I do think that having parents that ability at a younger age to contribute money aside into a way that could be a great life starting fund or retirement supplemental fund is a great core benefit at the main basis of it and everything. So I hope that we all realize that and can put aside any whichever side of the political spectrum that you're on, and realize that there is great benefit for the kids. And at the end of the day, that's more important to me than regardless of the political party.
Yeah, exactly, because political parties will constantly change. They'll move in, they'll go out. It's always a rotation going, and it's always someone new that wants something different. But the kids are what we need to focus on, and set them up as well. I mean, that's what the whole podcast is about. So being able to have something like this is fantastic. I will say, if I'm with you, I would like to know what I'm investing in. That's one of the big cons to me, is where is my money going? What am I investing in? But if they release the information as time goes on and you find out more information, because we are still a little bit a ways from it. So still a lot more things could come out about it. And it could either be okay, wow, that's really, really good. Or the information might be I may not want to do that now.
Yeah.
But looking at it and gathering all the information is the important part. Being well informed with it before you make your decision.
Yeah, and again, and I really hope, and again, we should hear because this should fall under the same type of financial filings like any other, as we just said, Robin RV1, like they had to come out with a list of who they're investing in. So I would like to think that they will have to do the same of showing what they're investing in, and I hope that even if they are just still doing American companies, they're doing it still very similar to an S&P 500 type fund. So like again, you're going to have the top companies that are just maybe just American invested and everything. We'll see again what they deem as an American company versus not American company. I don't know how far does that mean? Does that mean everything has to be done in America, or does your central office have to be in America? I don't know.
Yeah.
And again, we'll see. Obviously, I hope that it's not as we're doing some of this more fly by night startup companies. I'm hoping it's maybe not necessarily that, because I definitely want something a little more tried and true and solid in a sense, because
Yeah.
for my kids, especially younger age, I'm not trying to go too high risk and everything. I want something to be there for them long term.
Right. Slow and steady wins the race.
Yeah.
We've talked about a lot of different companies and investment strategies, and a lot of them are gambling, we've talked about before, like crypto and different things like that. There's a huge element of gambling there. So to have, like you said, something that is tried and true, structured, well established, they're not going anywhere anytime soon, that would be a lot better for this type of investment.
Yeah. So I definitely agree. Like, again, to me, I would set up the account and everything, but I definitely would look at, depending on how much I want to contribute, is also seeing first what their perspective is of showing what the list of companies that they're investing in, at least from the main weighted standpoint and everything. Who knows how many companies are going to be total and everything,
Right.
but, I definitely want at least that first main chunk to be, all companies that we could all easily list off the top of our head, companies that recognize without having to really dive into having to do your own research on the companies and filings and everything. I want it to be, all the brands and companies that we all know, from just general use and knowledge and everything. And I like to think that that's going to be what happens. But again, we will see, come July 5th and everything when this actually rolls out. But if that's the case, I mean, I definitely think doing what you can to get as close to that $5,000, because again, yes, it's post-tax money for mom and dad and everything. But at the end of the day, having $90,000 over the 18 years of your kid turning potential into 13 million, like that to me is well worth.
That's a huge difference. That is a lot more money than what you're investing. So to have that percentage difference, I don't know. It sounds great to me.
Yeah, and again, granted, on their website, I think they just use the historical track of the S&P 500, which again, just leads me to believe that whatever the companies they have are going to be ones that are similar to an S&P 500. But yeah, if you can make anything close to that and just have them just let it sit on it and everything like that to me alone is just such a massive potential game changer.
Yeah.
So like that is where I hope this will be. That's where I want for my kids to be able to do, because again, if you can stack this with the 529 plan and then potentially set up their own Roth IRA at a younger age, there's so much potential to have them just on such an easier track record of retirement than I know me and you are even facing at our age and everything, starting a little bit later in the game of what it takes to get to retirement. Because again, as we've said many times, time is the biggest factor in this.
Yeah, time is the biggest factor. This is, though, making me want to wish that I was born a little bit later. Maybe if I was 17 right now or even younger, this would be great.
Yeah, like even my kids, 10 and 8 at the time of recording this. So yes, I have less time for them, but I'm still going to max out what I can to get from my kids to the age of 18, because even yes, I won't have the full $90,000 in there. Even over the course of their 8 or 10 years left until they hit 18, I mean that's still $50,000, $50,000 put in there.
Yeah,
like that still will be a huge amount to help them out down the road from that. So I'm definitely even though they are middle-aged kids, if you will, they still will have a massive impact from this. So I definitely think this is something that could be beneficial. I do think, if you haven't filled out your taxes yet, go ahead and click the yes whenever you're going through that process to set up for your kids' account. If you didn't, when you already did your taxes, you can go back and figure out how to open them up. Go to their company, the government's website for it and everything.
Yeah.
And then we'll see. Again, you don't have to put the money into it; it's optional. So wait and see what they are actually investing in and everything, and go from there. And we'll cover that as time comes on, because this is again ever changing. This is something that we trying to figure out ourselves, what it actually is and what it entails. But we want you to know what we're looking at. And again, I think the big thing at the end of the day is, I don't want anyone to not do this just because they're against the political party that's currently in office. At the end of the day, what's important is for our kids.
Yep.
And again, I as a parent, regardless of my political affiliation, I want this set up what's best for them, and I feel that this has a good potential for them. And so with that, I'm going to take advantage of this, regardless of what I feel like things are going with the administration of it. And I don't want anyone at home to just instantly turn their ears off and shut it off because they don't want anything to go in that aspect.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, it doesn't hurt him. It doesn't hurt their administration. It only hurts your kids.
Yep.
And that, to me, our whole point is to benefit our kids.
Yeah, correct. That's the whole reason we're doing all of this, is to help build up all of that. And it's, like you said, putting your politicalness aside, looking at it objectively just for this, and looking at what it could benefit, the possibilities of it. And as more information comes out, just staying on top of it and looking at all the different things that do come out before its release date.
Yeah.
It's worth, keeping an eye on.
Yeah. So again, if you take anything from this, is please, don't shun it away just because, you're against what's going on and everything. So do what you can in the element of looking into it, but also as times change and everything, and we'll obviously keep everyone updated with it, as well as if it does change and it gets to a point where we don't think that it is worth going into because, different political administration takes over and they change and change the structure of this. We don't know. Yeah. And again, that's some of the unknown in this. And I'd like to think that if there are changes down the road, there'll be also avenues of what you can do to move the money around and everything without having the impact, taken away from it. So, but again, we'll see as this goes on. But I think at the end of the day, the potential for this is huge, and I think that's what we should look into and everything with this. So, I think that kind of covers a little bit of what who this is for, the benefits from this, why you should look into this, the potential. There are some negatives potentially with this, and what to keep an eye out for in what we're having to do with this. But again, having the strategy fitting in with the 529 plan, the Roth IRA, and now this, just great vehicles and everything to move forward with that.
Yeah, and between all three of them, you could have your kids set up to even be able to set up their kids and then their kids, and if everything's done right, then there's your generational wealth.
Yeah, and again, that's the whole point of this, is setting up that generational wealth, because again, at the end of the day, you got to invest the boring way
so your kids can live the bold way.